metal receiver and barrel shroud. A little different idea as far as how the barrel and bolt works. This is a blowback weapon. There's no gas system to it per se. But the bolt on this thing has two roller cams, and when the bolt and barrel fit together, the roller cams will roll out, lock the bolt and barrel together while the round fires. The back pressure then unlocks it and it cycles. And it does that 1,200 times a minute, 12 to 1,500 times a minute. And that was the result of this weapon. It was commonly known as Hitler's buzzsaw because of the sound it makes. You know, a lot of you can hear individual rounds firing this thing. It was like one constant, like the sound of ripping paper, so to speak. Became a very feared weapon, the MG42, by a lot of the U.S. troops. The interesting thing, the Germans had a different concept with machine guns. For the U.S. military, our machine guns supported the riflemen. For the Germans, it was the other way around. The center of everything they did was the machine gun. The riflemen were there to protect it. And so with us, we had our light machine guns, air-cooled. Our water machine guns were heavy machine guns. With the Germans, it's in this mode, off the bipod was considered light. When they mounted it to a tripod, it became a heavy weapon. And most of the tripods with the Germans actually had an optical sight with them that they could use to sight the target with. So we're going to fire it off the bipod here because this tends to shoot better off the bipod than it does off the tripod, we hope. This weapon's usually a fairly effective and usually does a good job. So we had some issues with it earlier. Whatever you want to do, man. Typically, when you fire this with live rounds, like that right there, it wouldn't be a very long burst. There you go. And that was basically 40 rounds right there. That quick. Very, very high rate of fire. The next weapon we want to demonstrate for you is the U.S. M1919A4. This was our main machine gun for the war. Air-cooled, shoots the same 30 caliber, 30-06 that the BAR and the M1 Garand shot, but now you're shooting it from a belt. Like the MG42, it was about 12 to 1,500 rounds a minute. This thing is about 650. Oh,
yeah.
So not nearly a high rate of fire, but you know, the U.S. idea was, well, it's more accurate. Well, okay, that may or may not have been the case, but they proved to be a fairly reliable weapon. Later on, they come out with the A6 version, which was actually had a bipod on the front of the barrel and a buttstock made to the back of it to make it more transportable. Otherwise, you had to have a tripod to be able to fire this weapon, unless it was mounted on a vehicle. But anyway, the M1919A4. And there you go. You can notice that you see that obviously the rate of fire was nowhere near. That was the same 40 rounds that the MG fired. That was nowhere near the same rate of fire that German machine gun had. Anyway, that concludes our demonstration today. If you'd like to pick up the brass, if you want to come out and pick up brass,
there you go.
Be careful, it might be hot. Don't burn your hand.
I'll pick up brass. I'll take the 45 ACP so I can reload it.